What is going on, everybody? So I have been in the Army Reserves for about 5.5 years, a little bit more than that now, but I have never deployed yet. And I get asked all the time, why haven't I deployed? Have I deployed yet? So today we're gonna go into why I haven't deployed, and then a little bit of specifics around the whole Army Reserves and their deployment strategy. So I'm gonna kind of start off real quick in answering the specific question of just why I haven't been able to deploy yet. And that is just for me in my specific career that I've been on track to do, I just haven't had the chance to deploy. I've been in a little over 5.5 years. Come February will be 6 years, although I didn't leave for basic training until May. So, you know, kind of technically, I guess you could say May, but I went to a drill before that. So it's all really complicated, but my time in service date is February the 13th, 2015. So when that comes around, that'll be 6 years. So we are coming up on my 6-year anniversary of joining the Army Reserves, and it doesn't look like I'm gonna have a deployment coming up anytime soon before that. So, you know, essentially 6 years, no deployment. Why is that? I haven't had the chance to do it. And the reasons why I haven't had the chance to do that is essentially because a lot of my time in the military up until after BOLC, which is something that I just graduated from in 2019, a lot of that is just training time, and you can't deploy until you're finished with all your training. So I did enlistment stuff, I did enlistment training, I did ROTC, and you can't deploy when you're in ROTC. And then even after commissioning, you can't deploy until after you finish BOLC training. So there was a gap there of 8 months or so. So I mean, a whole bunch of gaps, a whole bunch of time in which I'm undeployable, like I can't, or non-deployable. I can't deploy during that period of time. So it's not been but less than a year and a half. So June of 2019, so a year and 4 months is actually the only period, the past year and 4 months is the only period that I've actually been able to deploy if the opportunity came up. And to this date, the opportunity hasn't came up. So why is that the case? I know this video is about why I haven't deployed, but I am going to give you guys some information. Like if you're looking to join the reserves, like what are the odds you're gonna deploy? You know, what's the whole strategy behind this, like your unit and all that stuff. So I'm gonna give you guys my specific situation right now and like the Army as a whole situation. So my specific situation, like why I haven't had the chance to deploy in the past year and 4 months since being actually first eligible to deploy after, you know, so essentially 4 years, so 4 years basically. And if y'all didn't know, I am a 25 Alpha, which is an officer. I finally updated my rank right here. I finally remembered to do that. So I'm a first lieutenant now, not a second lieutenant, not a butter bar. I'm a burnt butter bar. And if you guys didn't know as well, I am in a civil affairs unit. I'm not in a signal unit, I'm in a civil affairs unit. And civil affairs is quite a bit different than your normal average unit. Civil affairs is kind of categorized as like the special kind of deal. So like special forces, special operations, however you want to call it for civil affairs, they are special. Not that I guess my unit is super high speed, awesome and everything. It's just like a special, you know, they call it the red-headed stepchild of the special forces kind of, or special operations, you know, just area in the military. But basically the way that deployments are working in my unit right now, since I've been there have been people that have gone on deployments, but it's the civil affairs people. So we have a battalion, and the way that the civil affairs deployments works is you deploy in teams. You don't deploy as a whole big unit, you deploy in little teams of like 4, right? So those 4 people go, they deploy. Currently my unit is doing all their deployments in the Southcom, so essentially South America. So technically, I guess if I were to deploy right now, it'd be a really good chance of me going to South America, not in the Middle East. And in those civil affairs teams that we are deploying pretty regularly, there's no signal soldiers there. It's just civil affairs people. You have like a major, I think it's like a captain, you might have like a sergeant first class and like an E5. Those are kind of like what makes up the team for a civil affairs team. And my position is not in one of those teams. I'm never gonna be in one of those teams. So for my unit that I am currently in as a staff officer, I'm a S6 OIC, like the whole unit as a whole would have to deploy, and we're not kind of on that cycle yet for the entire battalion as a whole to deploy. So we're just deploying those teams. So I haven't had the chance to deploy yet. Now, as far as the Army's strategy for deploying reservists as a whole, as a unit, essentially each unit is on a deployment schedule. I'm probably going to throw some stuff up on the screen kind of explaining this to you if you want to kind of read it as it goes by, and I'll leave links in the description down below. But essentially what's supposed to happen in the Army Reserves is your Army Reserve unit is on like a 4-year cycle. So you're going to be 4 years out from your deployment, you're going to be doing some specific training. You're going to be 3 years out from your deployment, you're going to be doing some specific training. And then as you get to 2 years out and 1 year out, you're going to kind of know what mission you're going to be going on in general. The closer you get, the more specific it's going to get. And you're going to be doing your training on that accordingly. Now, honestly, after being in 2 units in the Army Reserves, like where you're at in the cycle, it's kind of hectic, right? So some of the research and stuff that I've done on like the big Army stuff is like this strategy kind of works, it kind of doesn't work. It's kind of, you know, not being implemented 100% accurately or across the board, right? But that is essentially the strategy. So what you have to do to be put on that, you know, deployment cycle, your unit has to actually be eligible to deploy. You have to actually prove that your unit can deploy. And actually a lot of units in the Army Reserves, at least from my experience and from other people, they're not really up for that task. I'm not sure what the percentage is. Maybe it's like 20% or something like that. But you know, there's gonna be units in the Army Reserves that are just gonna be non-deployable as a unit. They haven't proved themselves able to deploy. My current unit, I think we're on the cycle, I think this next summer, I believe, I think. We are going to be going to, I think it's NTC, maybe it's a different one that we're going to, I'm not 100% sure. But essentially we are going to do the month-long training, kind of like proof that you can deploy as a unit essentially. So when that happens, I think we might be on our 2nd year of the cycle at my current unit. And if I were to stay here, I would say within the next couple of years, 2 to 3 years or so, if I were to stay at this unit, then you know, essentially the whole unit would deploy. There are going to be people in the unit that are non-deployable, so they're going to be staying home, they're not going to be going wherever we're supposed to go. But I believe if I were to stay here and not transfer units, which honestly I may have to do in order to get promoted, but staying here, probably going to deploy within the next 2 or 3 years. Just because of that deployment cycle, we should be eligible to deploy whenever we actually prove that we are able to do the job that we're supposed to do. Now, in regards to transferring units, I talked to you guys about if you're in the reserves, you can deploy with other units that aren't necessarily your unit if you're kind of out searching for those things. I've done a little bit of looking. I've been getting emails from, you know, basically they blast out emails saying, hey, this unit is going on deployment. We need this MOS, we need this MOS at this rank. And each MOS has actually different like levels of skill. So you'll have an MOS, for example, like 25 Bravos, you might have like a 25 Bravo with like a 30 after it, and then you might have a 25 Bravo with a 40 after it. So the 40 is a more skilled, they got more qualifications, they might have security plus, whatever, all that stuff, than the lower skilled 25 Bravo. So they may send out a blast email message to your Army email saying, hey, we need some E5s that are like a 25 Bravo 40 or whatever like that. And for me as a signal officer, which is a 25 Alpha, I mean, I haven't gotten any emails like that. You know, being in a civil affairs unit, I'm not sure how these blast messages go out, if they actually go out to literally every email or if they just go to specific like civil affairs unit. I'm in the civil affairs unit. Maybe they're like, hey, we need these, you know, I think it's 38 series guys, whatever MOS, whatever specialty to go with this unit to deploy. For me personally, nothing like that has came up. My current goal is to get a deployment in before Captain's Career Course as an officer. So what Captain's Career Course is you have to go to that in order to get promoted to a major. So, I mean, you can become a captain and then go to Captain's Career Course. Technically, I can go to Captain's Career Course right now, but I do want to get a deployment in as a signal officer. And if something doesn't come up relatively soon, I will be like really a lot more hardcore kind of looking at different units, seeing which units have a signal position as a signal officer, which units don't, which ones might have a deployment coming up, things like that, because I for sure don't want to go like my entire career and only have like one deployment or something. I mean, you know, 1, maybe 2, something like that, but having no deployments, which can happen, I've seen it happen, you know, going through your entire Army Reserves career and having no deployments, that would suck. Another reason that I would like to get that deployment in, or however much active duty time I can get in, is because I plan on retiring in the Army Reserves, and your retirement in the Army Reserves is based off of essentially all the active duty time, all the training time, anything you've done during your career. So the more active duty time you have, then the more you're going to get paid for your retirement. So obviously that's kind of like a good incentive. It's like, hey, you go deploy, and essentially your retirement is going to go up a pretty good little bit as far as a reservist is concerned. Now I want to finish this video off by saying that if you are looking to join the military, whether it's active duty or a reservist or National Guard, joining, setting all your hopes and dreams on deployments, like especially if you're just wanting to do one contract, you might get disappointed, especially right now with deployments being so scarce compared to where they were, 10, obviously 15 years ago. It was a whole lot more frequent then, but right now deployments are a lot more rare, right? So with President Trump as the commander-in-chief right now, if he were to get a second term, he, contrary to what a lot of people say, like he's, a lot less likely to send a lot of troops overseas than some other presidents. And I'm talking about just in general, other presidents that we've had in the past. So if President Trump stayed in, the likelihood of deployments going up, unless something crazy were to happen, again, then deployments are just going to be more scarce, right? So for me specifically, been in 6 years, really only been eligible to deploy for a year and 4 months. Nothing is kind of on the horizon right now, the immediate horizon right now. And if nothing comes up soon, I'm going to be definitely doing a lot more of that, looking around for units that I tell you guys to do if you want to get a deployment. And of course, this video went on way longer than I thought it was going to, but I kind of just wanted to talk to you guys about the whole situation as a whole, enlighten y'all on my situation and then the Army Reserves as a whole as well. But that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, that'd be awesome. If you want to check out some more of my videos, hit the subscribe button, that would be even better. Follow me on Instagram and Snapchat if you haven't already. By the way, my Instagram is currently private. It's not public anymore because of the scammers. I'm kind of just seeing how that goes, so I would have to actually approve you to be added to my Instagram. But that's kind of just we're seeing how that goes right now. Scammers are annoying, but that's it. I hope you guys have an amazing freaking day, and I'll see y'all later.